Hey, Chris, welcome to the Profit and Grit Show. How's it going?
Good, good. Thank you for having me. How you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm doing great. Thanks for being here. Would love to get to know you a little bit. I'd love to start out with learning what you do professionally, would be my first question. Can you share that?
Sure. So we are a family business. We do, name of it is Aspinwall Baystate Plumbing. We do plumbing, heating, air conditioning, fireplaces, service and installations. We've been around for over 50 years. I think we're going on our 53rd year now. And it's my father, my brother Mike, and myself. And my father is retired now. So it's me and my brother pretty much every day in it. And my brother runs the fireplace side of stuff, and I take care of like the plumbing, the heating, the air conditioning side of the business with a great staff. And
Very
so
cool. And then the term Bay State, does that represent? I wanted to ask this because I've heard it before. Is that just Massachusetts, or is that is that an area of Massachusetts?
it's just Massachusetts. It's kind of a
Okay,
nick. I don't know if the nickname's the right name for it, but yeah, Massachusetts is known as the Bay State. And
got it.
so our
Okay,
work around where we're located, we're in Weymouth, Massachusetts. Our work is primarily done on what they call the South Shore.
got it.
So that's sort of an area of Massachusetts, which if you're from around here, you know what it means, right?
Yeah,
So
got it. Okay. I always thought it was kind of like, I have Silicon Valley in my area. It was kind of like a territory of it, but sounds like it's all the state, or the whole state.
yeah, yeah, the Bay State is, but the South Shore would be more like what you would equate to Silicon Valley. Yeah,
Got
exactly.
it. Okay,
So.
got it. And then what about a personal tidbit? Anything you could share personally about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm married. My wife is Danielle. I got three kids. One's 20, soon to be 21, so that should be interesting. 18-year-old that's senior in high school, and then a 14-year-old son that's a freshman in high school. And so
Great.
all doing great. My oldest daughter currently studying abroad right now over in Copenhagen and loving life. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah.
Do you see any of them entering your business at some point?
I do. I don't know if any of them have an interest right now, but yes, I would love to see them. I would love to see any of them involved in it, but I feel like my son is maybe asking more questions about how things work lately.
Really?
So, and I don't know if that's an interest or just just conversation. But
Yeah.
yeah, you never know. He may want to step up someday, and so it'd be
Very
fun if he
cool.
did. It'd be fun.
I had someone come to me not too long ago, and he has, I think, three or four sons, and he said, the whole plan was for my kids someday to take over the business. Not one of them are interested in doing it. They're all now in their 20s, and they all went in different directions. So I guess
Right.
you just really never know, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Anyway, okay. Hey, I wanted to start out with just talking about running a family business, and I probably at some point when your dad was in the business, how did that work? Like, was there ever friction from the family business? Was it always kind of like everybody knew which lane they were in? How did that always play out?
um, I would, yes, all of the above,
Okay,
right? So, my father's background is plumbing, so he always stuck with the plumbing side of stuff. My background is air conditioning. I actually have an engineering degree, and it's mechanical engineering. So, before I started working here, I was designing HVAC systems. So when I came on board working with the family company, my lane naturally was air conditioning. So when I first started off, right, he was the boss, right? I like to run a lot of things by him, just how we're doing stuff, if we're pricing something, what kind of jobs we should go after, that kind of stuff. Sort of the way the business was running, right? We were operating out of a notebook, believe it or not. We just write everything down. People would call in for appointments. And it was, it's chaos. It's total chaos.
right.
So it took a little bit to kind of wrangle that in and sort of prove that, hey, this is a better way to do stuff. And my father's very good. He's very open to it and saying, yeah, let's do that. Let's do it that way. And without really understanding how or why we would want to do it that way. So an example of that was as we transitioned from a paper book calendar, say, to any CRM, we happen to use one now, Service Titan, and it took us a little bit to get there, but we would schedule appointments, and he was still with the mentality of, hey, if an emergency comes in, we're going to have to move all these people and just kind of cancel appointments,
Right.
right? And thinking, well, yeah, I mean, this is more important than that, or maybe the wrong way to say it, but hey, we got to take care of this before we take care of that.
Sure.
And it would just sort of happen where he'd say, "Oh no, this is what we're doing today," and it was like, "Well, no, we have this to do," meaning we have these 10 people we need to take care of. Like, why is that call more important than this call? And it made sense why. So I think that old mentality of sort of showing up in the morning and like, no, we're not going to do those calls. We're going to do these calls was a struggle, I guess, maybe because to me, I lived and died by the calendar, by the
Sure.
schedule. Hey, these are the customers we're taking care of. If we're going to be a reputable company and say, hey, you can trust us, you can call us, we'll be there Tuesday. You made your appointment last week. We're not going to reschedule because it's the worst thing in the world for people. I would try to stick by that, whereas he was kind of day to day. So it's sort of breaking him of that habit took a little bit, and it was tough because he did it his way for so long that I think as he saw, yeah, this is probably a better way to do it. And he'd see like as we treat these customers fairly and you see reviews coming in and look at people are happy, like for somebody that's been doing it since the 70s, Google review meant nothing to him,
Sure.
right? So now as you start to see them and you see, hey, we're getting 10 of them, 20 of them, 50, hundreds of them. It's like, oh wow, this is really cool. Look at this. People really do know who we are. People do like our company. He started to see like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe what you're talking about is making sense. Not to say that he was going to say, okay, whatever you say goes now, but that transition kind of started to happen a little bit in way of, a new idea would come up, it would be maybe easier to approach it and say, it became more like, yeah, whatever you think, so it was smooth, but still hiccups along the way
Yeah.
of uh, various things. I mean, that's just, I guess that's just on the scheduling side of stuff. Um, some friction always comes up. Any family business, the biggest friction always involves money, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's
For sure.
definitely the biggest thing. And who gets paid what and why, we should all be paid the same. Maybe we're not all doing the same things. Um, that can be overcome. I think some of the hard stuff is when you have some weeks where it's like, hey, I guess we got to pay everybody, but we're not going to get paid this week. It's
Yeah.
like who are we all doing that? We're gonna cycle through. Maybe you get one this week, somebody gets one the next week. Um, that leads to a little bit of friction, and then it makes it tough for sure.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to kind of run the business and stay focused on things. Um,
What's your
so
philosophy? What's your philosophy? Like, is your philosophy like family first and no matter how bad things get or maybe the friction within the company, once I cross that line and I'm back into my personal life, none of that carries with me and it's all family and we stay together? Or have you seen that kind of bleed into your personal life where you kind of have to, fight that so it doesn't affect the relationship?
No, so we are 100% family first. So that's a great
Okay.
question, right? I
Yeah.
like the way you put that, and that's what we've always done. And what's interesting, like Thanksgiving, we try not to talk about work
Oh,
because
wow.
you can go down the rabbit hole pretty quickly and just start talking about it. We do talk about it naturally, right? Like, oh, hey, what's he up to? What is he doing this week? But we try not to focus on it every time we see each other because then the relationship of your family just becomes business,
Right.
which really it's tough. It's tough to kind of break that, right? Because you still want your father to be your father. You don't want him to be your boss. You want your brother to be your brother, not like my business partner, right? So we definitely focus on family first. We've definitely had arguments over stuff. Not everybody agrees. Um, you kind of just got to learn to let it go a little bit. Um, and the philosophy should be what's best for the business, right? And making a business decision, and then obviously what's best for the family. Because I mean, you're together a lot, right? Not so
Right.
much my father now that he's retired, but like we were all together a lot. And so, um, yeah, it's definitely a challenge, that's for sure.
How do you, with your dad being retired, do you feel like you have to carry the torch of bringing the business to a certain level? Like, where's that stand with you? Is it like, okay, he's retired and now it's just our business and we'll do what we're going to do? Or are you in your mind like, I want to bring it to the next generation or the next level? Like, what are your aspirations there?
I think, well, yeah, I mean, I think we'll do what we want to do, but yeah, I'm always wanting to grow the business. So
Yeah.
bringing it to the next level is definitely always top of mind. But it's just not more, it's not, there's no more really asking, right? I'm not like, hey, what do you think of this? I mean, I do, right? We review a couple things. What do you think of that? What do you think of this? Maybe we'll try this. But he's not in here on a day-to-day basis, or we don't have like a once a month phone call to see where we're at to kind of make sure we're moving in the right direction. I mean, as we talk on a regular basis, sometimes it's just like, how are things going? Is everyone staying busy? How's that job going? How's this job going? But not a he's not like in a leadership role of trying to make sure we're still on track to hit some kind of target at the moment. No. So
Got
it's more
it.
of a
Got it.
personal thing really with me and saying here's what I want to be. Here's where we should
Yeah.
be at a spot. So
I've been had a bird's eye view of so many family businesses over my career. I think the one that has always stuck out at me is father and son, a lot of friction. Um, Father was almost threatened, for lack of better words, by the son coming in and making changes. And so they had this constant, it was just really abrasive friction. And I've just seen so many family businesses that a lot of times there's different types of, whether it be egos or, like you said, maybe you're going through a rough spot and not everybody can get paid, or maybe someone's going through a divorce and they can't really participate in the business as much. There's just so many different variables. I got to applaud you guys for being able to, the way you say family first and just keep your mind there. It's easy to get off track when money gets involved in business. I mean, a lot of times we lose our focus, sadly.
yeah, you do. You definitely do. And it is hard, right? I'm not gonna say it's always smooth.
Sure, sure.
You still family, right? You're still blood, so that's more important than any of this, really, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that even plays into some of our core values, which is definitely, we do employees, we do customers and community, and then, anytime one of our employees has even an issue, there's always deaths in the family, there's always something going on in people's personal lives, right? You kind of look beyond the fact that they're just employees because they do have things going on in their lives. And the more you're into this and the more you talk to them, you realize like, oh man, like once he leaves the office, there's a whole nother something going on. It could be anything, right? Like you
right.
said, divorce, it could be maybe something going on with their kids, something going on with their own parents. And our my immediate message to any of them really is always go take care of your family. Like just go take care of them first. We'll be here when you get back. Go do what you got to do. So it's
Yeah.
definitely an important part of our culture here, which is I guess different than trying to just make a buck,
Right,
right?
right.
So, but it's important.
What would be your advice to someone that's either in a family business or it's evolving into a family business? Any advice or wisdom in terms of making that work, or maybe reducing friction?
Um, yeah, I'd say that you definitely need to be patient. Kind of keep the business to the business hours, maybe, right? Try to force yourself to kind of talk outside of like I said, outside of just business topics constantly, because you can just keep going down that rabbit hole anytime you see each other. I think clearly defining the roles of maybe who does what is important. I mean, I think by default, somebody will always be considered the boss over somebody else, right? So maybe clearly defining that if there's multiple people involved. But it's tough because you really want to get equal effort from everybody, and that's probably not always going to happen. Um, so maybe just not holding that against them so much, or at least maybe offering some advice on, hey, here's something you could work on, right? I mean, not everyone is equally capable of doing everything.
Yeah,
So it's hard to say, hey, you take care of this, because sometimes the answer is, well, I don't even know how to do that, right? I mean, a lot of times everyone's coming up through the business. It's not, they may be good technicians, but they don't know how to run a business, right? So you have to kind of pick and choose the tasks maybe that each family member can do for sure. And
yeah,
naturally, somebody can take on more than others. It's just sort of the way it is.
yeah. What is your advice in terms of like when you have dad who's kind of always done it his way, and then you as being the son coming into the scene and maybe seeing some things a little bit differently? How do you what are some good ways of approaching that?
Yeah, yeah. Probably, I mean, one of our big things here too is always the why too, right? Like, here's how I think we should do this, and here's why I think we should do that. And maybe explaining some of the benefits of doing it that way. Nothing happens overnight. Um, I guess it depends on your relationship with your father. I mean, my father's pretty calm. I've seen him get upset, but he stays pretty calm. He's open to new ideas. He loves when something like a new product came out in the plumbing world or the heating world. He always wanted to try that. So he's always open to something new. So I think I maybe had an advantage on that of just saying like, hey, here's a way we do stuff. And he would see the benefit of it. We would go to we did a couple of like shows like we were a member of Lennox, so we went to some of the Lennox live events, and I'd bring them with me. And in there, you'd see a lot of the things that they lay out of why a company should do something. And you always get excited when you go to those events. So we used to go to them together, and it'd say, hey, you'd look at five things, say, hey, let's try these two things and see how that goes. And he'd be all excited. So we'd kind of get it going. And when you see benefits of it, it was kind of, for me and us anyway, it was kind of easier. Um, if you have to try to come up with an idea and you're constantly fighting,
Yeah.
that's a tough road to go down. I mean, it's just might not be a good match, but I guess it have to be the father's willingness to kind of let go too, which is tough for them because they started it.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of pride there, right?
Yeah.
So
Lot. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to give that up. But I mean, I don't know. I'm very proud of this company and like really love it. And maybe he just saw that shining through. So
Yeah, that's very cool. Hey, I want to get into a little bit about scaling a business. Now, a lot of times I'll see businesses get stuck in that like $3 to $5 million range. I know you guys have pushed through that. Wanted to talk a little bit about what do you think has attributed you pushing through that kind of $5 million barrier and get to the next level. Let's talk about that first. What are your thoughts around allowed you to get through it?
yeah, I think it's a lot of things. I think it was getting our name out there. I think a lot of advertising with that TV commercial that we ran. I think that was an important thing just to kind of get our name out there. I think hiring great employees or being, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but having great employees that kind of buy into what you're trying to do is important. So it's not just one person deciding here's what we're going to do and it suddenly works. But it's just having a good reputation. It's all that stuff of, like I said, scheduling, like I was talking about, being there when we say we're going to be there, getting the great reviews is important, and just kind of building up yourself as a reputable company that's trustworthy. And I think that really shined through on that advertising that we did with the TV because it featured my father, and everyone just kind of loved the way he looked and loved what the message was, and it was just a simple call Aspinwall, and they just a lot of people commented on like how authentic it looked. So we used to get a lot of calls from that, and I think just venturing out in way of adding the other services as far as expanding on the plumbing, expanding on the heating, expanding on HVAC. We deal a lot with the rebate programs in our state, which is called Mass Save, and just really focusing on getting our name out there and being accessible to people.
Yeah, where did Service Titan come into this? At what point did you introduce it, and for those that don't know, Service Titan is a CRM. It's kind of the creme de la creme, I would say, of CRMs in the trades world. It's costly. I mean, there's a big investment to it, but you should get it back in return with better data. When did you decide to do that? Was that a big decision? Take us through that.
Yeah, that was a big decision. Yeah, I mean, we're probably in the like $2.5 million mark, maybe $3 million mark when we first signed on with them because we had gone through a couple of them and we went through some less expensive ones, and it seemed they were kind of doing the job, but you could just tell Service Titan was going to be the one to go with. And it did. It was very costly. And what's funny about Service Titan when we first started doing it, it seemed costly, but it seemed affordable. So we were doing it and we were seeing a lot of return on it. And you really have to spend the time in setting it up, which is a big effort as far as price book and everything that goes involved into Service Titan, setting up the iPads and allowing the guys to work off them. It's a total culture change from where you may be because, a lot of people just like working off of paper. But it was just a nice transition to getting to this program. And I say it was costly but affordable because it's a nice program for what you were getting out of it. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, it seems like it's creeping up a little more than it
Sure,
should. It's getting very expensive. And we
sure.
use a lot of features where we use Marketing Pro and we use a lot of reputation management through it. And there's a lot that you can do with it. But it's at the same time, it seems a little higher cost, and again, just my sole opinion of what it should be. But I mean, we live and die by that program, and we're in it every day, and it definitely is a huge benefit and help to increasing our business for sure. And
Yeah.
so.
Do you feel like was there anything that you felt like you kind of hit a wall in terms of breaking that 5 million? Were there any challenges that you had to get through in order to get over the $5 million hump?
I think definitely, I don't know if leap of faith is the right word, but definitely like spending more on advertising for sure, right?
Okay.
You sort of have that trust and saying, yeah, let's hope that this works. And then finding good employees is definitely the biggest hurdle, which still continues to this day,
Yeah.
right? And just that's just an ongoing problem, which I'm hoping we start to see a shift in that. But it was that. I mean, we built a lot of nice relationships up with some of our local property managers that we do a lot of work with. And we really kind of focused on expanding work with even them and just saying, hey, I know we take care of three of your buildings, but how about we take on five, and just kind of building that relationship. That seemed to work out pretty well for us too. And
Yeah.
so,
Whenever I see property management in the HVAC and plumbing space, there's pros and cons to it. I think, the pros being probably, and correct me off anything if you see it differently, pros being consistent business, but the cons are very slow paying, and sometimes margins can be a little bit of a challenge. What are your thoughts around that, and have you done anything to circumvent those issues?
yeah, for sure. I think it's exactly what you said. I think that's the benefit of doing the work. The cons being the slow payment. What we do is they have a payment processing system, and we just make sure that we're up to date on that constantly. And then we have our person in the office checking weekly as far as what's coming in for payment and making sure all invoices are actually in the system as they should be, making sure they're getting the approval that they should be. The downside is even though when that stuff is all aligned and perfect, you're still waiting on one person to press the button to send the check.
Hmm.
So we looked into even ACH payments through the vendors and just
Yeah.
saying, hey, if we do this online, you think you could send us a payment faster? And their answer was no, it's the check or ACH is going to be at the same speed. So I think what happens is the big companies, it's like everything. You look at them, oh, they got tons of money. Why are they not paying these bills? I think that it probably cash flow for them is just, waiting for the rents to come in. It builds up in the account, they pay everything, and then they have to do it again next month. And so,
Yeah.
we try to make sure we're on top of it, which we are a lot, and it's just constantly checking to make sure, hey, we're going to get paid, we're getting paid. You always do get paid, but yeah, it seems to take a little bit. It seems to have been taking a little bit longer, I would say, this year. And I don't know, maybe it has to do with the tariffs. Maybe it has to do what's going on in the economy.
Yeah.
And just look at their money a little bit differently. And so,
Yeah. For what it's worth, I have another client in the United States. Won't really say the location just for privacy, but they also are very heavy into property management. And their typical collection, believe it or not, is over 120 days with a lot of those property management firms. And, me being the not so believing side, say, no way, we can get them to pay you faster. Well, it's really hard because you got to go through their portals and it's a very slow process, very laborious.
yep.
And I'm almost resigned to the fact that 120 days will be the fastest from that segment of the business. The only
Right.
other alternative at that point is, do you go more into like a COD type business where you're dealing with, direct residential individuals? What's your thoughts around being more focused in that side of the business?
Yeah, I mean, I do. It's kind of what I'm thinking with 2026 coming up is kind of really focus more on residential customers. And I think it's a nice way of doing work, getting paid, kind of being known, right? Again, one of our core values is community, and these customers live in our community, right? So, I mean, it'd be nice to sort of like even help them in that sense. But the COD is definitely a nice way to go. Now it's a culture of making sure the technicians have the ability to talk to the customer, explain what they're doing, and collect the money too. Because you can get into battles all the same as far as, well, nobody told me that's what it was going to cost. I
Yeah,
didn't know it was going to be that expensive. I need to talk to the owner. I need to talk to a manager. And it's not in every case. I mean, it probably happens, who knows, 5% of the time, but it seems like it's every customer, even though it's not.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you just kind of get that feeling. But it becomes more of a communicative process for the technician where doing the work is the easy part, right? Like I can come in and fix your heating system. That's easy.
Right.
Unfortunately, here's what it's going to cost. That's those soft skills that you have to teach these technicians, and they have to be comfortable doing it, right? I
Right.
mean, you're dealing with these people that have to ask for money, and at the first words of no, I think it's too much money, they kind of just fold and say, "Oh, yeah, just call the office," which then just puts you right back into non-COD business.
Right.
Uh, I think in a perfect world, I like the mix of, the light commercial with residential customers, um, just overall as a company,
Right.
because, to be honest, there's a lot more residential customers than there are the property managers.
Right.
So to me, it's kind of a nicer side of doing things. We try to stay away from all construction altogether, just because it's
Sure.
just not our forte. We're not good at it. We don't have the manpower for it, and we just don't like being yelled at for no reason. So we just out of that business altogether.
Yeah.
So
Do you think, you talked about training. Do you think it's hard um, for the technician who, when they're doing the property management side, they're not really having to deal with as much discussion around probably pricing and collection and stuff like that?
right.
How do you do that? Like, how do you get, because now you're like, okay, when you're residential, I want you to be somewhat of a salesperson. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but I want you to be more involved with the collection and the, hey, this is what it's going to cost you. Whereas most of the day, if they're doing like commercial, they're probably not dealing with that. Is that fair? And what are your thoughts?
Oh, that's totally fair and exactly right. So we try to separate the people that we use for the commercial side, we'll call it, versus the residential side. Obviously, there's a cross between the two because some days you need to use that person at a residential house. Um, yeah, I mean, it all depends on the person because some guys, it's no problem at all. They just know I'm here to do a job and you're going to have to pay when you're done. And we always have our talks in the office are, where does the pricing start? Should the person answering the phone explain to the homeowner, here's what the price is? Should they explain that you're going to collect at the end of the job? Should they try to build the invoice before we even get there so that the technician doesn't have to do it? To me, it's a combination of the two. If the person answering the phone can be upfront and just say, are you home? Somebody's going to be home because at the end we have to collect. And then the technician has to sort of take it from there, which would be a layup to say, like, hey, I'm here to do the work, which in anyone's mind would understand that they're going to have to pay for it. It should all work together. And the guys naturally that do the residential work all the time, it's probably a little bit easier than the guys kind of flipping between the two,
Sure.
naturally. But everyone understands that it has to be collected. And we talk about it all the time. It's just the execution of it, right? It's the nobody was home. I didn't see them. They said it's fine. You should just build them. And then it's just bringing it up again. Nope, we have to collect. We have to collect. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. There's probably some like incentive type plans too that I imagine could be built around encouraging collection as much as some would might say, hey, that's your job. There should be no incentive. And then some might say, yeah, I can build in some type of incentive as part of their overall job and they maybe get a little spiff or something.
yeah, yeah. I mean, probably a good idea just to see if it drives more collections.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wonder if you don't have that communication skill, it's tough to learn it.
Yeah.
It's tough to even, you try to say, oh, I just have to train these guys. Well, no,
Yeah.
not everyone's a salesman. Not
Right.
everyone's good at speaking with people. Sometimes they just don't know what to say. And
Right.
so, yeah, it's tough.
So I had a guy named Lou Hobaika on my podcast. He was
Yeah.
about, I think, 20 episodes ago. I can't remember how long, but his philosophy was when they started an academy, a training center, he claimed, and I'm assuming this is true, he literally let go of all of his journeyman people, and he said, like, they weren't willing to bend or do the business the way I wanted them to do it in
Yep.
terms of being dressed a certain way, doing all these kind of touchy feely feel good things that make the customer feel good. A lot of the journeymen, he said, were just kind of set in their ways, and he wasn't able to train them. So he started over. He started an academy, and he ultimately, I'm not saying he did it all at once, but over time he did it, and he ended up training these people to have the soft skills along with the technical skills. And he felt for him that was the only way he could do it.
Yeah, right. Which there's a lot of truth behind that too. I could kind of see that. because people
Yeah.
get comfortable, which is good and bad. People get
Yeah.
comfortable, and then they just
Yeah.
don't want to help themselves get better, right? You want people who are going to improve themselves for sure. And I could see his point to that, where you could hire someone based on their personality and probably train them on the technical side, right? As difficult as we like to pretend this may be, you maybe could train some people on the technical side of stuff, but if they have that nice award-winning personality, I feel like some people are a little more forgiving if it's like, okay, I can't get to that today. I'll have to come back tomorrow. So yeah, I could see that. I could see his point to that to some degree. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not to say I'm doing
Um,
it.
yeah, no, 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 no. I would do not recommend that
Yeah.
unless you really know, you really have a plan in place because that could destroy a business. So I want to go back to marketing. You had
Yeah.
mentioned about the TV campaigns that you did with your father. Can we talk about that a little bit? How long ago was that? What were you doing? Was it effective? And if it was, are you still doing it?
So let's see. That was probably he said had to be 3 or 4 years ago now.
Okay.
We were running the commercial. Uh, it was effective in the sense of people would always tell us they saw the commercial. People would
Okay.
say the slogan was "Call Aspinwall." We would get that everywhere we go. We would wear our shirts. If you had a logo on the shirt, random people would come up to you and say, "Oh my God, I saw your commercial. Call Aspinwall," and we heard it all the time. We were unable to track any kind of ROI on it just because our advertiser told us there's really no way to do it, which I tended to believe. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. But we weren't really able to track it and put a number on it. So we ran that for probably about 3 years, which was great. And we stopped doing it. I stopped doing it purposefully because when I went to our new advertising agency, I wanted to see how good they could do without any of that stuff happening. And I looked at the business. So I started thinking about the business as an on-demand business where, hey, my water heater broke today. Who am I going to call? So you go into your cell phone saying, find me a plumber near me and my water heater. I have no heat. Help me today. So I was under the impression, oh yeah, that's where Google LSAs come into play. You have to have
Sure.
those. PPC, you need all that stuff. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. And everything is bidding on names and words, and you got to outbid this guy. Um, so we would kind of throw money at that to see how that was working. And to be totally fair, I would say for 2 years we've been with our ad agency, and I'd say we've been flat. And I
Yeah.
don't, in my opinion, I don't think it really worked. And I think their excuse is, well, we didn't put enough money on it. We got to put more money on it. We have to increase the budget. And I would just stick to it and say, no, here's the budget, make it work. Like do whatever you think is returning some kind of money. um, so we kind of got stuck with that, and their excuse every time is just like, yeah, well, you just need to increase that, or we're just going to be where we are, and that's it. So that leads me to today, which has got me rethinking. Hey, why don't we go back to our commercial? Maybe I'll go back to that and run that and see what happens again. Because again,
Mhm.
feeling stuck in between where we are now and where we're trying to go, let's go back to what we knew, which was the TV commercial and advertising a little bit more and seeing how effective that can be. Because I heard all kinds of things, but everyone's an expert and they'll tell you like, TV, that's not good for, you're not going to get any return on that. And I don't do that. You have to do this. And it makes you wonder why? What do they know? What do they know that we don't know?
Yeah.
Um, because it seemed to work pretty well for us. And I think somebody summed it up the best, who was a friend of my father's, and he did TV forever. And he says, TV, all it's doing is building brand awareness for you. You might not get a call that day, you might not get a call next week, but if they see it enough and they remember when my water heater goes, who am I supposed to call? And call Aspinwall.
Yeah.
Then you know it's working. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. I like that call, Aspinwall.
yeah.
Um, okay, good stuff. And then just on that note, like where does this take you in terms of next goals? Like what's your big next goal? Is it a revenue goal? Is it a legacy thing? You want to sell your business someday? Like where do you fall in terms of your next big
Oh, this
thing that you'd like to hit?
yeah, this is great stuff. So our next big goal is to hit $10 million a year in revenue,
Love it.
right? So that's our next goal. Now, I love like, yeah, what's the next steps? What does it look like from a
Yeah.
few years now? Because this is kind of I didn't know where to stand on this, but private equity is driving me crazy. St- I don't know if they're listeners. I'm sorry. Stay away from our family businesses. I don't want to sell this business. I want this business to run. I'd love it if a family member took it over, preferably my son, of course, and continue on the legacy of Aspinwall Plumbing. That's what I feel should happen. We're not looking to go anywhere. We're looking to be around again for another 50 years and continue to serve our community, our customers, and bring on new generations of employees and just have make it be a place where people are proud to come to work, want to show up every day and do a good job. And we get calls about the company. You get it, you see it all the time about, hey, any interest in selling a company? Why don't you give us a call? And we don't want to do it. That is not at all the plan. And I think it changes things. It changes the marketplace for sure. I'm sure they're good at scheduling appointments and showing up, but when you start buying companies and paying a lot of money, they have to make a return on that money. And the only way it's going to come back to them is by what they charge the customer. And we've heard it a lot from customers that call us saying, hey, so and so came over and this is what they were going to charge. And I mean, we're probably half the price of some of these people.
Right.
And it's just amazing to me. It kind of makes me, I don't know if I'm feeling bad, but um, I just think people should rethink some of this stuff. The $99 tune-up, we're going to show up to your house and come in and do all this stuff. It's really not customer focused, in my opinion. I just
Yeah.
think that they're just changing the marketplace. Hopefully not changing what people think of contractors because there are a lot of good ones out there. No matter what TV show you watch or what you hear from people, there's a lot of bad people out there that you can stay away from, but there's still a lot more good contractors out there, not just us, just in general. There's a lot of good family businesses out there that are really trying to do the right thing.
Right. I guess I have mixed emotions about the tune-up using that as an example. Like, I think that's a really it does have a legitimate value add to it. Like I like the thought of it. I know I've done that for my own home, and I think it makes sense. Where I get a little frustrated, or maybe a lot frustrated, is when companies and there'll be guys on the internet on YouTube talking about this, where they do this $99 and they're going to come back with installs. And to me, what that basically says is it doesn't matter if the person really needs an install or not. Their function is to go out there and sell an install through fear, probably uncertainty and doubt, and get them on a finance package. And that's where I would say this about cars or any other type of repair that would just bothers me because it's like you probably don't really need that service yet someone's coming out and do it. If the tune up is really about just maybe finding things, if something is wrong they're going to fix it, or just clean it up, and whatever they're going to do on the tune up, great, clean it or whatever and keep it at that, I'm all for it. I mean, what are your thoughts around that?
So I totally agree with it. Yes, I think if you get a tune-up or you get a maintenance, which I highly recommend, and we do it too, having your system maintained twice a year. I equate it to even when you buy a brand new car. You have a new car, you drive that for a year, you still need to put some kind of maintenance into it every year. I mean, you could spend $500, $600 just keeping your car running the way it should. I think it's the same thing with any kind of HVAC equipment, plumbing equipment, heating equipment, anything. You have to spend a little bit of money to keep it maintained. And it may be that it's a maintenance with some extra parts. So you have to do that little bit of extra every year. I'm thinking people are using that lower dollar maintenance as a way to get in the door and just get your ear and talk to you about all the things that you may or may not need. Right? I'm not going to say they all go in and try to fool you into getting
Sure,
something
sure.
you don't need, but it seems that the lower prices are relevant because it's not really the fair market value of what that maintenance should be. Doing a maintenance for $99, if you could hire someone and they come in and they go in and clean it up and do it and you pay them and you never hear from them again, then that was $99 well spent. I
Right.
just I just don't think that's the intention of the tune-up. I don't know if it's unfair. I mean, the customer's the one making the decision, so I guess maybe they're not doing anything wrong. We just
Right.
don't operate that way. We
Yeah,
have our
no.
maintenance prices. We come in, we do what we're supposed to do. And then, we offer suggestions saying, hey, you should take care of this now so you don't have to do it 3 months from now. And we're just trying to keep the system up and running because a lot of this stuff is expensive, but you want to keep that equipment running as long as you can.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I found interesting in my research about you guys is you do have a membership program, and the way you do it is a little bit unique in terms of what you see in some of the other membership programs. Like sometimes you'll see like the 9.99 or 19.99 a month, and you either get a discount or maybe you get like one free service. You guys kind of do, I think you do like one full service or two full services a year. And according to Google, for whatever it's worth, it's a little bit on the higher end in terms of pricing, but I believe you do like a full-on service. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
basically all we're doing is taking the two maintenances that we do in the year and just spreading it out over the monthly cost.
Okay.
That's what we're looking to do. And then on top of it, you get the membership benefits of discounted services. You get, you're gonna be in our program so that you get preferred services. We also do a nice one of our plans offers a credit towards a new system. So every year that you're paying into it, you accumulate money towards a new system, which may or may not eventually come, but we do make it so that if you need to put money towards that new system, that at least we credit you back something, right? And it's sort of as a thank you as being one of our members. But it's all equal. All the services are sort of spread out over the course of the year so that you're not just paying it, one time or two times on top of the benefits that you're getting out of the program. And
Very
so,
cool. Hey, a lot of good stuff here. I want to come to wrap up here. I want to talk about one last thing. Do you have a mantra or some type of thing that, saying or something that you kind of live by or that you often say to people?
yeah, the one that comes to mind is, like I said, victory loves preparation, right? And so, that's one of my favorite ones of just always kind of being prepared. And that could be for anything. It could be for the meeting that you have coming up. That could be for the quote that you're going out to deal with, the customer you're going to meet. It could carry on into your personal life, whether you have kids that are into activities. You just want to make sure they're ready ahead of time. You can't just show up and expect things to happen, right? You definitely have to prepare your day, prepare your week, and just be ready for what's coming on.
Very
So,
cool. A lot of good takeaways. I think big takeaway for me was just as it relates to family businesses. You gave a lot of wisdom around making it work and not letting the friction overcome your personal relationships. I thought that was a huge one.
yeah.
You talked about getting your name out there. I think the TV advertisement sounds like an interesting thing to revisit. So I
Yep.
think that's another big takeaway from me. Other thing that we didn't touch on too much in terms of getting the $10 million, I think one thing that hit for me is around building a small leadership team. That's one thing I often see when businesses are trying to get from that 5 million to 10 million, they start to build that small leadership team. So that would be another takeaway that I would say that we could take from this podcast. All good
Mm.
stuff. Your websites, I've got Aspinwall Plumbing is your .com is your main one.
Yep.
Then you also have aspinwallfireplaces.com. And then, of course, your LinkedIn I'll put in the show notes. If people wanted to reach out to you, is LinkedIn the best place to go to?
That'd be a great place to go. Sure. So that has all my information on there, phone numbers, emails, everything. So that's a great starting point. And always looking to add followers. I always try to add tidbits of information there. Um, I think one of my latest blogs or notes is just about whether our heat pumps actually saving us money. And I'd love to get commentary on that because sometimes people are all over the place on that. So it's just good to put food for thought out there and just let people think, right? Everyone always has a different approach to things, but it'd be nice to kind of hear the different sides of the good, the bad, the ugly. We,
For sure. I'll be sure to include your links in the show notes. Chris, you're an awesome guy. Awesome conversation. A lot of wisdom you shared. Can't thank you enough for being part of the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This was great. A lot of fun.
Welcome to Profit and Grit. It's profit and grit, not luck and a wish. From the wrench to the spreadsheet, we're stacking our chips. Slow season hits, man, we tighten the ship. It's the blue collar way we build, not dip.